Oh, the new Lord and Savior for me of the series. Lancelot is already on the highest point for me for the new characters in Four Knights of the Apocalypse. He is one of the four knights, assumingly so. Yeah, assumingly so that he is one. I know it's not like straight out stated yet, but I feel like everybody knows, just like Tristan and whoever the secret fourth one is. But when looking at it, not only did he do that, he's also using a bow and arrow, which I give personal bias against, because you don't get a lot of bow and arrow people in like actually relevant characters. They're usually just kind of like side things. You don't get a lot of buff bow people throughout series. And usually, whenever you have characters that use bows primarily, they don't get as much screen time as you would hope. Again, you can think about a lot of series with like characters with bows, and again, it's either a character who has a bow attack, but it's not their main thing. They aren't shown a ton, or they're like fodder. There are obviously strong bow characters throughout fiction, but you don't get them as often as the swordsman, or maybe a character like a cool axe, or like dual wielding swords, like short swords or something, or daggers. Like bow and arrow is one of those ones that you don't see a ton on like really cool characters, like big characters. Maybe it's like on a smaller neat character, but they're not like a big deal. But either way, I like that about Lancelot. I've enjoyed his design. He's the only one of the so far four knights that doesn't have a very comedically goofy standout hairstyle. Percival's I'm all right with. Tristan's I think Tristan's hair looks absolutely awful. But this right now, I was happy that Anne did question a little like what was going on with him, because it made sense for her not to be like, just by the nature of how she works, to not just immediately trust him. And Percival trusting immediately is something we would expect. We know that he was going to be super hyped about it, seeing him again and happy. I will say one thing I was just happy to see in this chapter was Camelot in general. I like seeing Arthur just in his mysterious pocket dimension doing all his stuff. And then Merlin, I'm never really too hyped to see Merlin. I'm happy that Merlin is in her role. I mentioned so many times, I think during... I don't know if I mentioned it as much in my reviews themselves. I did mention it, I don't remember when, but it was something that I always brought up, I know in conversation rather, about Seven Deadly Sins. I thought Merlin was too OP to be a main cast protagonist at the start. Like, just because she starts out so broken and it feels like she is like a plot device a lot of the time. Whereas like her being she's obviously not unbeatable. She's absurdly OP, but she's not something that can't be defeated within the verse. And I've always thought like she as a character should have sat as like a villain, like a big villain, not the main one, but like a right hand to the big villain. And that's what she's become in I almost said 100 Years Quest, in Four Knights. So I'm happy about that. That's one thing from a story perspective I've been very much enjoying. The stuff with Arthur has been like, it's one of the things that, like, looking at Seven Deadly Sins, I would have definitely, like, if I had to say like one of my biggest upsets about the series was I didn't like Merlin's character almost at all. Like, she has a cool design, she has cool abilities, but I don't really like her like as a character, and I don't really like her in the story. She brings interesting lore in sometimes, but like that's something that like another character could have easily done. And then Arthur in general, I like Arthur. I think Arthur's really cool, like design, like a story. Arthur I do enjoy. Merlin I just don't really like. But again, I think Merlin, from the position she's in now, I think I might be able to end up seeing her from I think I can end up enjoying her from a different perspective. Because I think as a OP bad guy, it'll be better than just this character that's directly in the main cast that seems to just have some hacks ability that she's never mentioned that can just defeat any scenario. Because it's not like she has some hacks that she pulls out and it's like, oh, I've had this trump card and it's good in this scenario. It just seems to be like she has it in pretty much every scenario, that even though it's spells she's never mentioned, or like stuff that she never really had too much. Like it's one of those things that's cool in moderation, but seeing it on like every single time just makes the character just feel fan fiction-y. I've never liked that about Merlin. So I think Merlin, from a villain's perspective, once we see her actually fight as an enemy, I think it's going to be really cool, because she's just going to be this super OP, sorceress that they have to figure out how to combat. So I'm looking forward to that. The stuff with Lancelot cutting the area of the forest they were in, I thought was neat. There was a confirmation that was the same attack that was in Sistania. So if we don't get, for whatever reason, confirmation that he's the one at the gold magic, which I feel like is obvious with the whole shining name in the magic, that we will, like, did they mention a color back in Sistania? Because I was gonna say, like, if they ever show it in the anime, if it's somehow not brought up or told to us, it'll be obvious at that point. Donnie's dagger again breaking. Sad about that. I hope Donnie can get like a cool magic dagger so he can, amplify his power even more. A just small character detail thing I really liked was Lancelot just like putting some magic in some arrows, shooting these little craters in the ground, and just pretty much just making short graves to bury the Dark Talisman. And I liked that. I thought that was really cool. Just for, it's something that they could have just literally just done off panel, and it didn't have to be done this way. But it just kind of gives him a little spice to his character, adds a little bit of flavor context to him specifically. Him being also like connected with the forest as he puts seeds on their bodies, like he builds them all a grave, and he's like saying how they are going to pretty much return to like the earth that can bring more life to the forest again, even though they've damaged it. And he puts like a seed there. Obviously the tree will grow and like use their bodies as nourishment. It's interesting. I really liked his character in this. Like, he was really cool in just like his general display, like the whole reveal he works for the King of Leonis, Meliodas. That would make sense to me as well, because like I would assume that because you got to think of it from Lancelot's perspective, from just him as a kid. Like, clearly him and his dad, like, it's not that they didn't hate each other, but clearly they didn't get along as well. Lancelot, if you read the one shot, was a bit rebellious against him. Makes sense for Bond's son to be a bit rebellious, but for him, the two other powerful older dudes in his life are going to be King, who is his actual uncle, who is like, he's got his own things that that we would probably respect him for, but Meliodas is like the leader of the seven deadly sins. He's the strongest to him as well, because he's also goofy. He's probably like my guess is, if you looked at it from his perspective, King is like the kind of like nerdy, a little bit weird uncle, not a bad guy, but Meliodas is kind of the funny, cool uncle. So and on top of that, he's a king, so he probably like way more general respect for him, I think, than he does for the other two. Probably more in the end for his dad, but from what he's willing to show from Meliodas, because clearly he's got more to him that he's not generally showing. Because Pelargard shows up, he's like, here, I'm come to hang out again. I like Pelargard. Pelargard in that short display of his character was fun, but Lancelot, as he heard my wishes, pulls out a what are they? The magic charm? I can't remember exactly what they're called, but like the pretty much little crystals with magic in them, and teleports them right to Leonis. I was so happy about that because I've been waiting for them to get to Leonis. But at the end of the chapter, this is the last thing I want to mention, is when they get there and he's like, they're all kind of just like shocked they're here, and he's like, quick, Gawk, and the king's waiting for you. Like, he starts talking more like Bond and even walking like Bond, like, the hands in the pockets that kind of like tilted a little bit forward. So I like that. I thought this was a really good Lancelot chapter. Happy about that. And so tell me in your comments what you think about this chapter. I pretty much said everything I wanted to say. And I really appreciate your thumbs up the video. Friend the like, put the subscribe button, and check out my other videos. But not every channel is already subscribed. I thank you all for listening. Bye.